welcome to the 15th annual Cordwainer Smith Rediscovery Award. And we're very excited to again host it here at Readercon. And as everybody knows, the Cordwainer Smith Rediscovery Award is given to an author who really is someone who might be overlooked and who is worthy of being rediscovered. And on behalf of Barry Maltzberg, Liz Hand, several other judges, I'd like to say Clark Ashton Smith is the winner for this year. And because it's Clark Ashton Smith, I've asked Darrell to come up and say a few words. Darrell, on the floor.
All right. And so I wrote a little short thing basically explaining why Clark Ashton Smith. I think the lesson we can learn from writers like Clark Ashton Smith or H.P. Lovecraft is that the writers of their day who buckled down and wrote reliable formulaic fiction in the approved and expected manner are not generally the ones we talk about decades later. It has been over a century since Smith's first publications. His first book of poetry appeared in 1912, and he was something of a prodigy in those days, at the age of 19 being heralded by the newspapers as a genius and the Keats of the Sierras. And remember that he became acquainted with Lovecraft when Lovecraft wrote him a fan letter. Now, if there's anybody here who doesn't actually know who Clark Ashton Smith is, all I can say is check him out in Penguin Classics. There's an excellent volume, The Dark Eidolon and Other Fantasies, edited by the tireless S.T. Joshi. That's a good place to start. But we honor and read Clark Ashton Smith today precisely because he is unique. He spoke to us in a voice like no other, and he gave us visions of strangeness like no other. He was out of step with his times and proud of it. He expressed himself perfectly in a letter to his mentor, the poet George Sterling, in 1925. He said, "I can't agree with the highbrows that the weird is dead, either in poetry or anywhere else. They're all suffering from mechanized imaginations. But I, for one, refuse to submit to the arid, earth-bound spirit of the time. And I think there is sure to be a romantic revival sooner or later, a revolt against mechanization and over-socialization. If there isn't, I hope to hell that my next incarnation will be on a happier and freer planet. I have neither the ethics nor the aesthetics of the anthill have any attraction to me." And we should be glad that he did not remain in the anthill. His professed aim was to get beyond the human aquarium altogether. Well, he might not have gotten quite that far, though you can argue that in poems like The Star Treader or The Hashish Eater, he did. But in the course of his efforts, he took us to Zotique, the world's last continent, which sinks into magic and horror beneath a dying sun. The influence of this is enormous. This is the text, the sort of the text for The Dying Earth by Jack Vance and Gene Wolfe's Book of the New Sun. His Aberwan, a witch-haunted province of medieval France, is another memorable creation. He knew or was willing to express more than most something about the sexual underpinnings of witch fears in the Middle Ages. His hyperborealized steamily in haunted jungles, there men worship the hideous toad god Tsagua and the ultimate unbegotten primal slime, Uba Safa. And any reader who has been to Smith's land of Yondo will not forget its abominations. Smith also wrote science fiction. His Mars is unique, with stories like The Vaults of Yovombus and The Dweller in the Gulf, where the red planet is found to be populated by horrors worthy of Dante. The City of the Singing Flame, he perhaps evoked the seductive lure of the cosmos as well as anyone ever has. And he also used science fiction as a vehicle for satire. All of this is written in a style that was unmistakably his. It is very hard to read a single page of Smith without recognizing that the prose is his. His style was, in classic terms, Asiatic rather than Attic, deliberately ornate, painstakingly constructed with great care given to every rhythm and image. This too makes him admirable as an individualist and a writer. A distinctive style was discouraged in the pulps. There was a standard jaunty staccato style that most pulp writers used, and it was designed to be more to be skimmed than to be read. And it was utterly devoid of texture or atmosphere, much less of any beauty. It was the aesthetics of the anthill and the kind of writing that has remained crumbling and moldering pulp pages ever since. But Smith, the science fiction fantasy writer, poet, painter, sculptor, is still very much with us. The recent Penguin collection is only the latest manifestation of his staying power. There have been others, including the Arkham books and the definitive corrected versions of his works brought out by Nightshade, and there will be more. Smith was a writer who could command his audience with the line, "Bow down, I am the Emperor of Dreams," and he was.
All right.